2, 1.
Welcome to our oral history interview. Today we'll be talking with Mr. Robert Koppert, an Air Force veteran of World War II and a native of Knox County who flew combat missions over Germany as a side door gunner in a B-24 bomber named What's Cookin' Doc. Our oral history committee consists of Jenny Karcher, Stuart Herman, Desiree Harper, Misty Lemmings, and myself, all of whom are members of Mr. Stephen Cake's C-Block American History class. Thank you for being here with us today, Mr. Koppert. When World War II began in 1939, did you consider your possible participation?
I don't think I even thought of it in 39. That was pretty early. I was in college at 41. That's when war was declared on Germany.
So you probably didn't think of it until like after the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor?
That's about the time we got really interested.
So did you agree with the declaration of war then?
Oh, sure.
Do you remember what you did the day or evening before you left to go to war?
Well, I just said goodbye to some of my friends and then went to Columbus. Columbus went down to Mississippi for training, so just said goodbye to friends, got ready to go.
So how long did you stay at that training?
It was only 6 weeks.
Only 6 weeks? And what did you do in that training?
Mostly marched in the sand.
That didn't help you much for the Air Force, though, did
No.
it? No?
No. After that, we went to Johnson State, Tennessee for cadet training.
What did you heard about Adolf Hitler before the war? Did you hear anything?
Oh, I'd heard he was a paper hanger, for one thing. And he was pretty demanding and had a great ability to influence people.
Did your parents worry about you leaving for Europe?
I think so.
But they didn't try to stop you or anything?
No way they could do that.
What were some of the things you missed while you were away?
Well, the food was different in England than home, so I missed that.
And how was the food over there?
Oh, it was not to sustain you. We didn't get milk very often. We had imitation milk, things like that.
So it was all dehydrated and didn't taste very good?
Not real good, no.
Yeah. How often did you receive mail when you were over there?
Oh, about every day.
Every day?
At least every week.
So it didn't take long for it to get over? Or?
No. Back in those days they had email, which is very fast.
What kind of battles and events did you participate in while you were over there?
Say that again?
What kind of battles and events did you...
Well, I was on 12 missions. 2 of those missions were aborted for some reason, either mechanical or bad weather. So I just flew on 10.
And what did you do in those missions?
I was a waist gunner, so one day watched for enemy aircraft and kept the crew alerted to what was going on. So we had 2 missions that were real interesting. The first mission was to Wilhelmshaven, and we were bombing a submarine base there. And that was the heaviest flak I ever saw. Most all of our planes got hit by flak, but our plane escaped.
So some of your planes didn't come back then, or?
I was never on a mission when everybody came back.
No.
Either engine or enemy.
So did you ever shoot down any enemy planes when you were over there?
No.
No?
No
Ever get a chance to fire at them?
No, I didn't.
No? So you just, but some of your planes were hit and they didn't make it back?
I saw one.
You saw one? You saw one that got hit?
Yeah, it was a brand new B-24 called the Black Cat. Beautiful ship.
Wasn't that the last Allied plane that was shot down in Europe?
I think so.
So you saw that hit?
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your answers, Mr. Koppert. Now, Stuart Herman has some questions for you.
Thanks, Eric. We have a picture here of you and your crew. Which one are you here?
I'm the one on the far right.
Okay. Is that your plane behind you?
That's the plane. What's Cookin' Doc? That was our plane.
Did you keep track of your ties with these?
Well, I've been able to keep track of a couple of them. Our pilot was Donald Plan. He lives in California now, grows grapes, sells those to a manufacturer of wine. His wife won't let him take his compensation in wine. She wants him to take the money. The other guy is George Owens, third from the left, and he's the guy that really saved our bacon when we caught on fire one time by turning off the gas to the number 3 engine that was on fire, which had carried back past the window and had a tail on fire. When you cut the gas off, it blew itself out, and we were able to get back to England safe.
So, have you had any reunions or anything with your crew?
Not with the crew, no. I've had a reunion with some of our Air Cadet School members, but the crew, I've lost track of all those except 3 guys.
So, were you all pretty close during the war?
Oh yeah, we bunked together all the time and played ball together and stuff like that, so we were pretty close.
So you had recreation and everything over there?
Yes, when we didn't fly, I played softball, and a lot of guys did. So it was recreation.
And what other things did you do when you were in the air?
Well, we took a trip to London, saw London, and visited the countryside in England, which is very beautiful. Met some English people. Had a young boy that picked up our laundry, took it home to his mother. She washed our clothes, and then he'd bring them back. So we got to know some of the English people. They were very good to us.
Did you meet anybody over there that was from around this area?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I did. I was playing ball one day, and a guy walked across the field and said, "Are you Bob Koppert from Danville?" And I said, "Yes." The guy was Sock Higgins from Danville, Ohio, whose dad ran a furniture store in Danville. So it was good to see him.
Did you have any relatives that fought in the war?
Yes, Had my brother Jack, was a flyer in World War II, and I guess that was it as far as the family.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Koppert. And now another member of our committee, Desiree Harper, has some questions.
Okay. Desiree?
Thank you, sir. Mr. Koppert, what was the most fascinating mission that you went on?
Well, I think it was about our next to last mission. We were flying over near Austria. On the way over, our number 3 engine caught on fire, and the flames came back past the window, caught our tail on fire, and we were getting ready to parachute out, had our chutes on, and the engineer, George Owens, crawled out of the top turret, crawled down to where the gasoline lines were, and turned off that gasoline line to number 3 engine. Fortunately, the airplane, flying fast enough, blew out the fire. And we're still pretty close to Austria. So instead of turning around and going home with 3 engines, our pilot continued on to the target. We had a camera on board that day, so as those bombs dropped out, the camera took pictures, punk, 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 like that. So we found out later that our bombs all dropped in the Blue Danube River. Once we turned around and started for home, our aircraft would not keep level. They kept losing altitude. So we threw our guns and everything we could think of out of the airship to keep us in flight as long as we could. We couldn't get back to England, so we landed in Bordeaux, France. France at the time was in occupied territory by the Americans, so we were okay. But that was about a 9-hour mission, and exciting and kind of scary.
Did you guys think you were going to make it back?
I didn't know for sure. We hoped. Didn't like to bail out because you didn't know what you're going to be up against there. The German youth were pretty rough on American pilots coming out at that time. So we'd rather be able to get back, and fortunately we did.
Was there a time when you guys didn't think you were going to make it back? You just...
Well, didn't really think about it a whole lot. Just thought that I wonder if I could walk through Germany. And fortunately, that didn't happen, so we were okay.
When did you guys learn about the concentration camps?
Well, all the air crews knew about those from guys they'd talk with. And early in the war, the concentration camps treated American pilots like they were good friends. They were very, very good to them. But as war on, they didn't have the food or the equipment to take care of them like they did early in the war. So at that point in time, it became a rougher ordeal.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you, Mr. Koppert. Jenny Karcher, another one of the member of our crew, has some questions for you.
Okay.
Thank you, Desiree. I have some pictures here of you in the Air Force. How old were you at the time of these pictures?
18.
Then you actually went to war when you were 24, though?
No, I went to service when I was about 18 and a half.
You had training at 18, and then...
Started,
Okay. You were going to college at the time?
Yes. I was in Baltimore College, and Pearl Harbor happened at lunchtime when we were in the cafeteria. So a lot of guys immediately joined the service, but I joined on December 12th, and then it took a while before they called me. I joined the Air Force as in pilot training at that time.
Did you have any prior flying experience?
No, I did not.
So you just end up in a plane
Yeah.
without any...
Right. Well, I wanted to become a gunner, but they didn't have any applications for gunner then, so they said, down the hall you can become a pilot. So I went down there and joined up to become a cadet. So that was the way I started out in the Air Force.
Were these, in this picture, were these the other guys that were...
Those are the guys who were in school with me at Maxwell Field, Alabama. And that was part of our training. We went to school, I suppose, about a year and a half before we became active flyers.
What was it like to actually be in the plane?
You mean the bombers or training?
Well, a little bit of both.
Okay. Well, we first flew in Piper Cubs, and after that we flew in PT-17 as a biplane. Then when we got into P-24s, they were big. They were larger than the B-17, but it was kind of like a metal barn inside. There were no conveniences at all, so it was sparse.
Was it like cold in the plane being up that high?
Yes, we had heated suits for the time I got to England, and it was 70 degrees below zero at the altitude we flew, which is 20,000 feet.
So you were on the plane quite a bit then?
Yes, it took about 8 to 9 hours for each mission, and we carried candy bars in our pockets. That was our food for the day.
So the only food you got was that, and then when you landed...
Yes, when we landed, usually had a nice dinner.
We're going to hand these to Stuart and have him put those on the screen. When you got to when was it that you got to learn that you could return home?
Well, after VE Day, when the Germans gave up, they got the field ready to return to America. Unfortunately, our crew got to fly back. Some of them had to come back by boat. The flying was a lot faster and more simple. And we flew from our field and the coast of England to Meeks Field, and then from there to Labrador on into Maine. So it took about 3 days. We stopped for a while, and then after that we went home for a furlough. That was the best part.
What was it like to actually return home and try to go back to your normal activities?
Well, it was very good. After they got us out of the service, everybody came home. Most everybody went back to school. So it just didn't take long to get reactivated to civilian life.
Did you actually go back to school then?
No, as a matter of fact, I didn't. The schools were crowded, and I put that off and didn't go back.
Well, thank you very much.
Hey, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Koppert. Miss Lemming has a few more questions to
You're
ask.
welcome. Listening?
Okay, these missions must have been dangerous. Was there a lot of aircrafts being shot down?
Yes. Going back to 43, there was a lot of criticism of the 8th Air Force because of the daylight bombing. And early in 43, the Air Force B-17s at this time hit Schweinfurt, which was a ball-bearing factory there that was very effective to the German war machine. So they hit that field. And on that mission, the 17s were shot down heavily. They lost 65 crews. That means 650 men and 65 planes. About a week later, they hit it again and lost 35 planes and 350 men. So that was probably one of the worst targets that they had during the early part of the war.
Now, were you up there flying with them, or were you...
No, I didn't get there until 45. So the time I got there, the German Luftwaffe was non-existent practically. And our bomb missions were usually the only problem we had was the anti-aircraft. So I was lucky that way.
What movies or books do you think best represents the war and the realities of it?
Yeah, well, I really can't think of a movie that depicted the war real well. There are several movies about the Air Force that were good, but right now I can't really think of one that I thought was great.
Now, is there anything that we haven't covered that you'd like to express?
Well, I think you've done a pretty good job, all of you, and the war was terrible, and we're glad we got rid of the Axis. And
what was your reaction to the atomic bomb dropping in Hiroshima?
well, I was thankful for that because if we would have invaded Japan, we would have lost thousands and thousands of American lives. So I was grateful for that. It was a terrible thing, but it ended the war.
Did you hear anything about the bomb being dropped before it was?
No.
I've heard that Black Americans were segregated during the war. Is this true?
Yes, they had their own companies and their own fields, and actually I never saw any black troops in any of my places I went. So I know they were segregated. They had some real good soldiers. The Tuskegee Air Force was a bunch of black fighter pilots, and they were excellent and got a lot of credit for the wonderful flying that they did. So yes, there was segregation.
Is there anything I haven't touched that you'd like to share with us today?
Well, I guess we covered it pretty well.
Well, on behalf of our committee, we really appreciate you taking time of your day to come and share your experiences with the war with us. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.